This is the Real Life Blue Stories podcast with your host, Megan Hall. So, for those of you who are watching and listening, you might know me from the Indie Intercept podcast with Stadium Rant. Transitioned over from that, really, I would say probably around the holiday break. And now I write for Colts Wire, which is of USA Today's sports media group. So, this is my first podcast underneath my brand, so to speak. And I've got a special guest with me. I've got Jordan Murray of the Indianapolis Colts, who is a tackle. If you don't know, now you know. Jordan, thank you for joining, and thanks for just being on and sharing your story.
Absolutely. It's an honor. It's a privilege.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that. All right. So now that we did a little introduction of me, let's talk about you. So how did you get to the NFL? Like, what was your journey from, we'll say, end of high school up until now?
Okay, so I went to high school in a town called Coppell in Texas in the DFW area. I didn't play on varsity football wise until my senior year. Um, there's a lot of people that go to that school. Like my graduating class was like 1,400, 1,500.
Wow. Okay.
So a lot of other people in front of me, and I just wasn't developed that well yet. I was like 17. But ended up getting a couple scholarships. I chose to go to the University of North Texas, like I'm repping today.
Yeah.
My mom was actually going to that school at the time. She was studying mechanical engineering, so I just kind of wanted to stick around and be with her. So, anyways, I did my 4 years in college there, played tackle, guard, um, since freshman year. And then right out of college, in that process that a lot of the college prospects are in right now, I had the opportunity to train pre-draft with one of the best, I would say, trainers right now for NFL offensive linemen, Duke Manyweather.
Yeah.
He runs, I think his company is OL Masterminds, if anyone's heard of that. But I trained with him pre-draft, did my uh, other training with Michael Johnson Performance in McKinney, Texas.
Yep.
Um, and so I want to say it was May 2019, I got a chance to uh, come to the Seattle Seahawks as a tryout for a rookie minicamp. It was a 3-day deal. I ended up, not doing what I needed to do, and I didn't get a contract from it. So that was 2019, and I still got to pay the bills. Just graduated college, so I'm trying to figure out how am I gonna get to where I want to go as far as getting to the NFL and still regulate actual life because the money doesn't just appear out of nowhere. So I did a lot of different things. My first job, I worked at a daiquiri shop. I I did I did security for a couple of restaurants and nightclubs, stuff like that. But one of my favorite jobs I did was I was a PE and health teacher at St. Monica Catholic School, Dallas.
Oh,
And
wow. Okay.
yeah, I was there full time for 1 year. And um, during that time, I actually was going back and forth with the Spring League, if you've heard of that.
Yep.
Um, it was a developmental league at the time that has now transitioned into the USFL, the same ownership and whatnot. But it was way less sponsored money wise. I think their best sponsorship was with Fox, and that's they had like a 4-game season in November of 2020, and I participated in that in San Antonio. Let me backtrack. Summer, uh, sorry,
No, you're
summer.
all good.
I have a long story. I was trying to keep it short, but
No, you're fine. You're totally fine.
July of 2020, I was online and I just scrolled past and I saw Johnny Manziel on a flyer for the Spring League. It was a Spring League showcase in Denver, Colorado. And at this time, my agent's kind of telling me like, we'll look at WWE, like football might not be, it might not be what's for you. And he was just keeping it real because that's what you hire him to do. So there is a fee for that to go to Denver for 3 days, showcase you know, your talents in front of what was supposed to be a lot of scouts. And I had to pay for that out of pocket. I actually had to ask my brother-in-law for, the funds to support that. And, obviously paid him back, but he doesn't know how much that like meant to like start my journey back to getting where I am today.
Wow.
So, like I said, that was July 2020, 3-day showcase. There was no scouts, but that's what kind of propelled me into in their eyes to ask for me to participate in the 4-game season in November of 2020. And then COVID kind of ruined that for the spring league. They tried again in May of 2021. I participated in that again. We were in Houston this time. Had a lot of big names in that league. My quarterback was Ryan Mallett. He played in the
Yep.
league for a while, but and during that time, I was working full time as a teacher, so I'm having to go back and forth with the principal, asking for leave of absence and whatnot. And it was a blessing that they were able to understand that you go into the office to tell them like what you're leaving for, and they're like, "That's not the NFL. Like that's not like it's just some developmental league." But like I got people in my corner that knew my passion and knew what I felt like my purpose was, and they're willing to help me out, and that was very key to my success. But I digress. I finished up in May of, in the spring league, and I get my agent contacts me, letting me know that the Hamilton Tiger Cats were interested in me being on their team. He asked if I wanted to do it, and I was like, yeah. And so they're already a month into their training camp at the time. This is July of 2021. So I've already played basically 6 games 2 months prior. Um, so I go to this team in Canada. 2 days left of training camp. I'm like, are they going to keep me? What's
Yeah.
going on? Like, what is the point? What is my purpose here? And ended up being able to stick around. And not only that, but the 3rd game of the season, I had my opportunity due to injuries
Mm-hmm.
to play right tackle. Played the next 6 games at right tackle. Finished up the season at left tackle for the last 6 games, and ended up going to the championship game in Canada. And from then, I had a couple workouts right after the season. So this is around this time last year. The December, January period, I had a workout with the Colts and then with New Orleans. I think my workout with the Colts was 2 days after Christmas. And this is when they were trying to figure out if they were going to make the playoffs, and then the heartbreaking loss to the Jaguars.
Yeah. Don't mention that. It's okay. We don't have to talk about that. It's all right.
Yeah, I wasn't there. But and from then, I was told that they wanted to sign me to futures, and um, I was fortunate enough to, you know, make the practice squad after training camp this year. I felt like I performed well. I just in a couple of personally, I know in the preseason games I didn't consistently perform to the standard, which is why I stayed on practice squad for the entire year. But the fact that they let me stick around and they know that the development is key, and that once you know everything adds up, that I'm going to be able to provide to help win games. That's all you can ask for, because you see people go in and out,
Mm-hmm.
in and out, in and out, transactions, and it's just a blessing. I feel like to have went through what I experienced this season.
Yeah, that well, okay. So that was a really like deep answer, which I really appreciate because it kind of paints a story of your background, how you got here, and those critical steps. So to me, it sounds like a lot of intentional steps to get you to this point, which is really great to see. I want to back up a little bit because you mentioned you had a brother-in-law who loaned you some funds to be able to get to this point. So it sounds to me like you're maybe close with your family. So is your family a part of that journey? Maybe people that impacted you along the way, or were there other coaches who, like, maybe sowed some words into your life that said, "Hey, Jordan, you can do this."
Absolutely. My brother-in-law and then my sister and their family, they're amazing. I stayed with them that summer of 2020, the COVID, the start of the pandemic, and they were competition bodybuilders, so their nutrition is
Yeah,
on
it's
point.
oh yeah, definitely is.
And when I went to the rookie mini camp in Seattle in 2019, I was way overweight, and one of the things that needed to happen was I need to lose weight and I need to lose fat. And being with them was a great help, a great, you know, example of what needed to be done in the nutrition category. And then, so they lived in Pflugerville, Texas.
Yeah, I know about Pflugerville. I got some family in that area. Yep.
Yeah. And that's where my parents stay too, my dad and my stepmom and brothers and sisters. So I stayed with them off and on. When I did the spring league in San Antonio and COVID kind of broke it down, I stayed with my family in Austin. So yeah, they've always been, in my corner, and I've always been in contact with them, and I got their support for sure. Some of my coaches from high school would reach out, college would reach out, just letting me know that they see, what I'm doing, see what I'm trying to do. It always personally. I knew what I wanted and I was going to do it regardless, but knowing that people see it and it's not just I want it to be a legacy, and that everyone gets to see and people can maybe use it to inspire them to get somewhere, cuz I was told no a lot. I was told
Mm.
it wasn't going to happen a lot, and to be where I am today, it still hasn't happened yet. Honestly, I haven't played in a regular season game, but to be a part of the organization is a milestone
Hmm.
on that journey that I'm eager to continue.
Yeah, so it sounds like a lot of resiliency as well. When you spoke about the competition bodybuilding, so that's something I've dabbled in my
Yeah,
previous heyday. Yeah, before I had my kiddos, that
yeah,
was like a rebirth of myself and rediscovering like all my discipline and all my
yeah,
resilience. That teaches you a lot about yourself. So it makes me think that it prepared you properly for what you're about to step into, especially with the high expectations that comes with playing in the NFL. So I think that's a really, really critical point that I wanted to highlight. So speaking of the NFL, let's talk about this past season. So we'll address the big elephant in the room of like, hey, this season didn't quite meet the expectations, right?
yeah,
Colts had these high expectations. You bring in Matt Ryan in the offseason, you retool the roster a little bit. You're thinking, all right, at least hopefully we can make the playoffs. Maybe we have a deep playoff push. That doesn't happen. Um, midway through the season, Frank Reich is gone, Marcus Brady is gone, Matt Ryan's been benched. That's a lot in a 3 to 4 week span there. Jeff Saturday comes on board, and you guys go 1-7 down the stretch. So still more of those kind of tough, expectations or a misalignment of expectations. But
yeah.
talk to me, I guess, about like what was the I guess the thought process or the mood in the locker room from the beginning of the season till when you started noticing things shift till end of season.
Coming from no NFL experience, not being in the locker room before this year, um, going into training camp especially, it felt very energetic. It felt very powerful, like something was building,
Mm-hmm.
and it showed every day at practice. Um, it was just electric, and I don't, I wouldn't even say that dimmed to the end,
Mm.
even with the losing records and losing games, week by week and day by day, we have to do the same things regardless. The result on Sundays is a cumulative of what happened all week.
Mm.
So if you if you do less throughout the week, or your mentality is poor, your demeanor is poor, you're gonna get blown out every week. So honestly, the message was the same from the beginning. We wanted to go to the moon. That was the message from Frank Reich and training camp and the entire staff, honestly. And the staff, like I said, this was my first year, so I'm seeing everything. I'm fresh. I'm a rookie, so I have zero complaints. I have nothing negative at all. I feel like everything was on board. I was learning the plays. I learned like the messages that the coaches wanted us to get, we're getting across. At the end of the day, we have to execute, right? So I think the business of it, it's unfortunate that people have to get fired, and when essentially it all doesn't fall down on one person.
Right.
It's a team event every week, 11 players at a time, one play at a time. But like you were saying, how all that shift was happening within the season, within those 3, 4, 5 weeks. Um, the It's almost like it gave us a chip. Like everyone thinks we're not gonna do it, and unfortunately, that's how it came about in the end. But week by week, it was still, we're gonna show somebody that they're wrong, that we are better than what they think, and we are out here to win games. So it was an unfortunate outcome, but I have zero complaints or negative experience whatsoever. Coaches, players alike, staff, everything, training room, everything was great.
That's awesome to hear. I would say, like, from my seat, you could see that there was a lot of frustration, right? Like you have people who are putting in the work every single day and not meeting those expectations. Jeff Saturday comes in almost an unprecedented, sort of manner, and really questioning, whether or not this was going to make a difference. This is my opinion, but in my opinion, I think there were too many things going on at the time that Jeff Saturday could not overcome. Didn't have his own staff. He's working with the current staff. He would do things differently, is what he said. If he gets the opportunity. But one thing that I think remained the same was he said, "I am a leader of men," and he said that from the beginning, which I thought was really poignant. And that's something that several players have come out and said, "Yeah, absolutely. Like we'd run through a brick wall for him. Like he's great in that manner." Was there anything that he said to you that stuck out in your mind in any of the meetings or conversations that kind of left with you?
Yeah, for sure. Like you were saying, him saying that he's the leader of men is 100% accurate. And he uh, he began his coaching with our first team meeting, saying, "The reason I'm here is because I care."
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, you can say that, and it could just be blah blah blah, but I could feel it every day. Like this dude genuinely cared about the success of the Indianapolis Colts and what it took, and especially from an offensive lineman standpoint and a team practice standpoint of we got to grind every day. It's a
Mm-hmm.
grind, and that's what gets the W's. And like I said before, it's unfortunate that it didn't fall that way, but it's not all on one person. It's not because of what someone did or didn't do. It comes down to execution on game day.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. Okay. So I do have a couple more questions for you that are a little more lighthearted. So I figured I would ask. We'll see if we'll get a little personality out of you. So this is what I like to call favorite things. And it's 5 questions, but we'll start with this one. So I think you talked about this earlier, but I'm gonna ask it anyways. Favorite moment of your career thus far?
Favorite moment of my career to this point. This including outside of football
Yeah,
too.
it could be outside of football.
Yeah, 100% would be teaching at the school in Dallas for that year and a half or so. It was a community that embraced me. At the time, I started off as a volunteer in December of 2020,
Mhm.
and my mom actually passed away uh, January 31st of 2020. Oh, I'm sorry. I was volunteering December of 19, and my mom passed January 2020. And so the community really just, like I said, embraced me and my little brother. And like that era of my career will always be imprinted into my brain and just my heart, and it's always got a place, and it kind of is a part of that fuel to keep going. And but another, I got two favorites.
Go for it. Go for it.
The first preseason game, we were in Buffalo, and
Yep.
I'm in my uniform, and we're in stretch lines, and you know, being a rookie, undrafted, like you don't talk to some of the higher ups, right? Like often. And I just remember Chris Ballard came up to me and was like, "Hey Jordan, go get him. You got this." Like that, and just being where I wanted to be, knowing that I'm going to play football today. I'm going to play
Yeah.
football in the NFL today, and it was just like I have goosebumps right now.
Yeah, I do. I'm listening to you, and I'm like, woo.
Yeah. So those are my two favorite moments so far.
Okay. Well, first of all, let me say thank you for being vulnerable. You did not have to share details like that. Those are personal details, but I appreciate you being vulnerable to share those. And
Absolutely.
secondly, those are hell of memory, like hell of a memory right there. I think that, when you have a community that can embrace you when you're going through something tough, like a support system goes such a long way.
Yeah.
And then just having words of encouragement from someone who believes in you, people that you look up to, that will make you want to run through a brick wall. It's all,
Yeah.
it's like dreams personified. Dreams are realized in that moment, and I think that's awesome. That's really
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, so we got a couple more questions. So I like to ask this question because I think it's, now that I've got a player in the league, we want to talk about any other favorite players in the league, like people that you're like, yeah, that's him. It could be a current Colt, could be anybody on any other teams, anybody that you look at, you're like, yeah, I really like their style of play.
I'll give you three. I'll give you a teammate. I'll give you one of my idols, and then somebody else. So Trent Williams for
Okay.
the 49ers. Dude is a beast. He's technical. I want to be like him, like that type of deal. Um, in in the Colts room, man, it's a lot of favorites, honestly. But being around Jonathan Taylor,
Yeah.
like the dude is one of the best guys, like one of the best teammates, like one of the best like brothers. Like he treats you like a brother. He don't even know you, but he knows that you're wearing the same horseshoe as he is. So
Mm-hmm.
we're all trying to get to the same place, and he treats you as such. And then I was watching the playoffs the other day, and I'm like, Patrick Mahomes is a dog. Like, come on. He has a
Yeah.
messed up ankle, put the team on his back, still making plays, and he's been doing it for a long time. So those are probably my three faves in the NFL.
Oh, those are good ones. Those are really good ones. I would say Trent Williams is he's a nasty offensive lineman. Like
Dude.
you want your offensive lineman to be like that, just a flat out bully.
Yeah.
I would say as far as Jonathan Taylor, like I have a soft spot for JT. Really soft spot for him. First of all, I just love his demeanor, his calm personality. He always speaks very highly of the staff, his teammates, and you see that, and the way that he runs on the field. Yeah, when JT is on that field, and I would probably say I usually get goosebumps. And one that I think of really, really stands out really big in my mind was the Patriots game. I think it was last year. He broke a massive touchdown
Yeah.
against the Patriots, and he's like running, and it unraveled that stadium,
Yeah.
completely unraveled that stadium, and you just realize the type of energy that he brings to the team. So that's really awesome. And Patrick Mahomes is Patrick Mahomes. Like
Yeah.
when I was watching that same game, and Chris Collinsworth was absolutely losing his mind. as he's broadcasting, anything that Patrick Mahomes does, he's like, yeah, did you see that? It was like I think it was a sidearm throw or something else like that. And I'm like, no, only Patrick Mahomes can do that, right? Like nobody else can do those sorts of things. Maybe Aaron Rodgers, maybe somewhere in that range, but Patrick Mahomes is one of one. So yes, absolute dog as well.
Yeah.
Awesome.
But the entire Colts locker room is full of amazing men, amazing guys that make you want to practice hard every day because they're doing the same thing. So it was really tough to pick one for the team. But, I mean, I would just say JT because he embraces the leadership.
That's awesome. Awesome. Okay. And then I got a couple more for you. So favorite quote that you like to live by. What is something that you have heard that you're like, yep, that is what motivates me?
Have you heard of Jacko?
I haven't.
I don't know if that's how you pronounce his name, but he's a former military and he does podcasts and shows. And I just remember in college, our coach put on a video of his, and his message was that, anything can happen. Like your tire goes flat. Good. You know, your dog needs to go to the vet. He's going through something. Good. You mess up in practice. You got the quarterback hit. Good. You get to choose how your mental state is, whether what just happened was good or bad. You can trick yourself into not falling for the bad, learning from the mistake. And I don't know exactly verbatim what his message was, but I do know it was along the lines of bad stuff's going to happen, and you have to have the mentality that you're going to persevere because it's good. You're still breathing. You get to make choices, and I kind of live by that.
Awesome. I like that. I like that a lot. Okay. All right. So favorite movie, and you can only pick one because everybody's got like 4 or 5. And when I say just one, I mean just one.
Yeah. That's tough.
Yeah. It's tough to get down to one. What'd you say?
The Matrix.
The Matrix. Oh, okay. All right. That's a good one. Okay. All right. I'll take that. Yeah. All right. So last one. Favorite genre of music, or maybe even a favorite artist that you listen to?
That's good. I like hip hop, rap, R&B, a little of that reggae fusion.
Yeah.
But one artist that I constantly listen to is Lil Yachty.
Okay.
Ever since high school, I just like how, different he is and how, quirky he is. I like his style.
Cool. Well, I'll take that. Okay. All right. So that was the end of my questions that I had for you. Do you have any questions for me?
Yeah. So I was thinking when we were talking before, so how did you get involved with Colts Wire and USA Today?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I like to keep my mind always thinking forward about how I can progress myself in my career. I knew through my work with Stadium Rant that I wanted to continue to go further and push the envelope. We had a lot of connections through actually Twitter Spaces last year, and really talking in what was a ladies' night space that was all ladies talking football, which was really cool to be in that space. Feel really empowered. Started following people on Twitter and really just, hey, if they're an editor, if they're a writer, if they're a media personality, like I'm following them. So I wanted to get my feet wet. I knew that this was eventually something I wanted to do a little bit deeper. So I started actually following the managing editor of Colts Wire, Kevin Hickey. And I sent him a message back in, I would probably say November or so. And I was just like, hey, my name is Meg Hall. This is what I do. This is, who I write for. Would love to be a part of the staff. One day if you guys have openings, want to continue, writing for the Colts, that'd be great. They're, I'm a big fan. They're my favorite team, and that was really all I said. So he sent me a message back and he's like, yeah, hey Meg, I'm familiar with your work. I've seen it. It's great. We don't have any openings right now, but I'll keep you posted. So yeah, then he messaged me back in, I think, early January and was like, yep, we're ready to go now. We've got openings. Would love to have you on board. And it was a really smooth transition. It was really fun transition. It was tough because I have I'm going to get emotional. I have a really awesome staff that I built at Stadium Rants of about 6 guys. And it was tough to tell them, that news, because I built relationships with them.
Yeah.
They're all really, really dear to me. We had a blast on our podcast. So it was tough to not get to work with them, on a daily basis, because I was doing managing editor duties for them. But I will continue to still be able to do it through my work. I'm, sharing my articles with them. They're still sharing articles with me, and they're going to come on the podcast here in a couple of weeks as well, because I missed them and told them, I was like, yeah, you guys got to come on mine. So yeah, I mean, really, it was all about, this is something I really want to do. Like I said, I create content in my day job. And so creating NFL content was, I don't know, I think I made it harder in my mind than I thought. But I'm a storyteller by nature. So putting it all down to paper, I realized I enjoyed it. So getting to do it now about the team I love, 10 out of 10 would recommend. So
that's awesome. What about going further? Do you have a goal that you would feel content with retiring at? I made it to this position. I'm good.
Oh, that's a good question. Honestly, I'm not sure. I'm not sure that I have the answer to that. I think for me, it's more about, have I made an impact along the way? When for me, it's stories are really important, and you get to know people by letting them tell their story, right? And for me, it's all about the connections. It's all about, did I make an impact on the people, along the way? Have I extended the olive branch to them? Have I, made them feel warm and welcome? Because I feel like at the end of the day, if I never talk to this person again, let's say, for example, I want to make sure they had a positive impact with me, that I did something, that was lasting upon them. So, if I were to retire tomorrow and I felt like, yeah, I did my job, whatever that job may be, I'm fine with that. As long as I'm good with like I said, the path that I did, people I impacted on along the way, and just, being grateful for those folks.
Yeah. Cool. Well, I think that concludes my questions.
Oh, good. That works. Awesome. So let me say this. First of all, let me say thank you so much for taking your time, for spending it with me, for shedding some really good light on, all the things that you experienced in your career up to this point, the season. I think these are some really good nuggets in there. And I love that you went deep on your story, because 1, I wasn't expecting it, but 2, I think that people are listening and watching can appreciate that as well. So I appreciate you, of course. For everyone watching, listening, this will be up on YouTube tomorrow. Hopefully that's the goal. We'll see. That's how life goes. But the video will be up on YouTube hopefully tomorrow, and we'll strip the audio. We'll get the podcast out as well. For any more of my content, or for any content from Coltswire, go to coltswire.usatoday.com, and you'll be able to see all the fun things that we're writing about, including the current coaches search, including some grades from the season, all those wonderful off-season topics that we're talking about, because football season cannot get here soon enough, even though we're still in the current one. So, all right. If you need anything else from me, of course, feel free to tweet me. You can find me on Twitter at the Megan Hall. Same thing on Instagram. Jordan, let people know where they can find you as well.
Yeah, Instagram, Twitter. My handle's at Jordan P. Murray, and I'll be on there.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much once again. We appreciate it, and we'll be back next week. Thanks, everyone.